The UFC just announced some massive fights for December. The last pay-per-view of the ESPN era gets Merab Dvalishvili as the headliner, as he will be looking to defend his belt for a record fourth time in 1 year, which is just insane. We're going to talk about how insane that is. We also have some other big fights announced. Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. Another big fight. A lot of us suspected this would be on the December card. We also have Yan Blachowicz versus Bogdan, real Anthony Smith Guskov, and we have Henry Cejudo versus Payton Talbott, a couple of unks versus the up-and-comers. And we also have, this one wasn't announced on the UFC's official page, but Brandon Moreno and Tatsuro Taira are also going to be on that card. That is 5 phenomenal fights. That is a great card. UFC 223 is amazing. I really like 223. UFC 323. What am I saying? 223. UFC 323 is really good, but we also have another mega fight as well that was announced, the first big fight of January, main event, pay-per-view, Sean Sharaf versus Stephen Asplund, another phenomenal bout. I really look forward to both of these guys stepping in the octagon to duke it out. Very excited for that one as well. We also have some other fights. We have some other fights for UFC 23. UFC 323. 23. We have UFC 23 back in the 90s. We actually are getting into the time travel box. No. UFC 323 has some other fights, and that includes Fares Siam versus Sadikov, as well as Chris Duncan versus Terrence McKinney. Bad matchup for Terrence McKinney, but this is a really good card, guys. UFC 323 is stacked. But either way, let's talk about this. Where is Alexander Volkanovski? I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit disappointed that he's not on the December card. A lot of us thought he was going to be on the December card. Now, there are some rumors that the UFC is going to go to Australia in February. And, I mean, listen, they usually have trouble stacking those Australia cards, but not with the Aussies. I mean, all the Aussies are usually down to fight in front of their home crowd in their backyard. I'm sure Volk would be happy to do that as well. And given that he's alluded to only fighting once or twice more, we could be looking at a retirement fight, and I could definitely see Volkanovski wanting to hold out until the next Australia card, especially if that card is in the early part of 2026. So, yeah, don't know who it's going to be against. I hope it's Lerone Murphy. I hope it's Movsar Evloev, one of those undefeated fighters that hasn't fought him already. It would be a shame if they did a Diego Lopez rematch, forcing Volkanovski to fight the same guy that he just fought, when you have 2 undefeated contenders that are both deserving of a title shot. Either way, still no Volkanovski fight announcement, but I'm guessing he'll come back in February. But let's just get on to Merab and some of these other fights. How is he so active as a dominant champion? At this point, it's clear this is the best bantamweight of all time. I mean, you still have a couple fans out there that are saying, man, if he keeps winning 5 more wins, then maybe he'll be the GOAT. But like most of us realize, he is the GOAT, and he's been the GOAT for quite some time. I think he became the bantamweight GOAT after he beat Umar Nurmagomedov. He's been furthering that case. He's been solidifying that even more. Now he's fighting Petr Yan. This is insane, man. This is insane. It's never been done before. If he breaks this record, I mean, we have to talk about Merab as being I mean, we talk about how incredible it would be for Poatan to win a 3rd belt. Maybe this wouldn't be as insane, but 4 title defenses in 1 year against the competition in which he's doing it against. Think about it like this. Merab Dvalishvili is doing this to Petr Yan, Sean O'Malley, Umar Nurmagomedov, Corey Sandhagen, all of these guys in their prime. That is insane. That is incredible. And for him to make a 2-month turnaround after fighting Corey Sandhagen, and, you know, listen, that was a pretty competitive fight. It's not like he just knocked him out in 1 minute and took no damage. That was a real 5-round fight in which he did take a little bit of damage. It's just crazy that this guy's turning around 2 months later to take on someone as good as Petr Yan, someone as well-rounded as Petr Yan. And, you know, no one's even talking about how incredible it would be to get 2 wins over Yan, because it's overshadowed by the activity and the fact that he's looking to break the record of most title defenses in 1 year. And given that he's already taken out everyone that there is to take out, he's literally cleared out a division and he's starting to lap people now. 2 wins over Petr Yan is insane. Petr Yan, in my opinion, is the second best bantamweight of all time. Resume-wise, I think he has a strong argument. I think he has a better resume than Aljo. I think he has a better resume than Dominic Cruz. And I don't think the Cruz argument or the Aljo argument is good either. 2 wins over Petr Yan is insane no matter what. That's like 2 wins over Max Holloway. Maybe not at that same level, but dude, it's kind of similar. It's kind of similar. If Merab beats Petr Yan 4 title defenses in 1 year, this is without a doubt a top 5 fighter of all time. I still need to make my GOAT video, and I need to take into account what he just did to Sandhagen and what Alex Pereira just did to Magomed Ankalaev. But I mean, if he's not top 5 already, this is the kind of win where, yeah, this is a top 5 fighter and there's no doubt about it. Like, you have to have, even top 3, you may have to have him top 3. If Merab beats Petr Yan twice, Sean O'Malley twice, Umar, Sandhagen, Aldo, Cejudo, there's like 8 other fighters that he beat as well, including Marlon Moraes. 4 title defenses in 1 year. If he beats Yan after only a 2-month layoff, given that he just had a 5-round fight, who's to say this guy can't defend his belt another 4 times in 2026? Just the idea of him being able to win a 5-rounder against someone as good as Petr Yan only months after a 5-round scrap with Sandhagen is already insane. Merab, if he wins this, he's probably going to be the GOAT of the sport, you know? And that's just something we're going to have to accept. A bantamweight is going to be the GOAT of the sport. I always feel like the bantamweights are the odd ones out in the GOAT conversation. He's a couple of wins away. If Merab beats Petr Yan, if he beats Umar in a rematch, if he gets a couple more wins after a Petr Yan rematch win, he is the GOAT of the sport. I don't care if he hasn't moved up a weight class. The level of competition that he's beating, it's insane. It's unbelievable. We got to really give this guy a lot of credit. This is never before seen stuff, you know, and he may not have the most exciting style ever, but his style is exciting. I don't think Merab is a boring fighter. I think he is exciting. And the fact that he's fighting this often, I really appreciate it. The more title fights, the merrier. So I'm happy that Merab is making a quick turnaround. The matchup itself, I have to go with Merab. I mean, listen, I just think it's a stylistic nightmare. Maybe it will be the case that Merab is not as built different as we thought, and maybe 4 title fights in 1 year will be the thing that comes back to bite him. This will be the last straw that breaks the camel's back. Merab will be too ambitious, and having a title fight only a couple of months after the fight with Sandhagen, it'll prove to be a mistake. And maybe we see Petr Yan beat Merab by a decision. But ultimately, I mean, listen, this guy apparently was sparring 5 rounds the day of his fight with Corey Sandhagen. According to Khalil Roundtree, he said Merab was sparring, hard sparring, for 5 rounds the morning of the Sandhagen fight. I believe it. He's the one guy where if he has 10 injuries, I'm not worried. And so I'm going to err on the side of usually Merab is able to do stuff like this. So I'm going to pick him. And also Petr Yan, he does have amazing takedown defense. And he obviously is the better, more technical striker. And he has a granite chin. But the thing is, I just don't think Yan has the KO power necessary. I haven't seen Yan really hurt someone in quite some time. It's been a long time since I've seen Yan drop someone, hurt someone. And I think in order for him to win a fight like this, he needs to prioritize looking for a finish, trying to get damage off rather than just win exchanges. I think Yan going into this fight looking to win exchanges, win rounds, I honestly think that would be a mistake because I think his style is one that is just always going to get overwhelmed. Merab is just going to outwork you. He's going to drag you into a reaction fight. Yan, I think he needs to get a finish. I think he needs to focus on getting a finish and really damaging and hurting Merab. And I just don't think he has the pop. I don't think he has the power. He's never really been that big of a puncher at bantamweight. And so therefore, I just don't think he's going to get it done. I don't think he's going to get a finish. I can't rely on him getting a bunch of knockdowns in this fight. Merab is too tough. His chin is too granite. He's too physical. He's going to be stronger. Endless cardio. Dude, if Merab starts getting outstruck, he can literally just shoot 20 takedowns like it's nothing in each round. And so that's just, how are you going to beat that? How are you going to beat that when you just simply cannot keep up with the work rate of Merab? So I'm going to pick Merab by a decision. I think Yan is too good at scrambling, too good with his takedown defense to get held down as well. So I just see this being very similar to the first fight, where maybe Merab has a little bit more success on the feet with his improved striking. And Yan, I know that he said he was at 50% because apparently he was injured, but I just don't see him doing that much better. All right, I think Merab's just on a different level, which again, I really think highly of Petr Yan's skill set. I think he, in my opinion, is maybe the most impressive martial artist ever. Doesn't necessarily mean he's a better fighter than Merab, but I think as a martial artist, I think his skill set, his tool bag runs even deeper than Merab. But fighting is not just skills. And I'm not saying Merab isn't skilled, but fighting is physicality and cardio and pace and all of that stuff as well. And Merab's got too much of that and enough skill to be able to outdo someone as skillful, as slick as Petr Yan. So, yeah, man. Merab wins this. We're talking maybe even a top 3 fighter of all time. This is some never-before-seen stuff that we're talking about. So, let's get on to the next one. Pantoja versus Van. Pantoja's looking awfully gray in this photo. He's looking awfully great. You know what? He doesn't get enough credit for being the second person ever to break the 35 curse. No one was talking about that in the build-up to his last fight with Kai Kara-France, but yeah, he was 35 in the lighter weight classes. Before him and Volkanovski, no one had ever been able to win a title fight, 155 pounds and below, at the age of 35. Pantoja became the second person ever to do it. That's some legendary stuff right there. And I think with this win, he becomes the flyweight GOAT. I know that Joshua Van hasn't built the crazy resume, but Pantoja's taken out so many people at this point, and a lot of them do have good resumes. And Joshua Van, I mean, this is probably going to age well. Pantoja gets a second title win at the age of 35 and older. Dude, I'm telling you, man, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT of this division. He just is. So there's a lot on the line for Alexandre Pantoja in this fight. And I'm going with Joshua Van. I'm just picking Van, man. I'm joking. I can't pick Van to win this fight. I could see his takedown defense, given that it's very good, maybe giving Pantoja some issues. But you know what? I think Pantoja's going to topple him over easily, honestly. Listen, Joshua Van is the smallest fighter on the roster. He's the smallest fighter in this division. Pantoja is the strongest guy in this division. And his striking is improved. And let's not forget, man, this guy's got heat in his hands. So not only is the threat of the takedown going to be ever present, because how dangerous Pantoja is. And we've seen Joshua Van against heavy pressure grapplers like Cejudo, where even though he was able to easily win that fight, he is not the same free-flowing striker on the feet when there's a guy spamming takedowns. And Cejudo is nowhere near as dangerous as Pantoja. So like, if you, because of a threat of the takedown, were a little tentative to let your hands go against Cejudo, what is it going to look like when you have Pantoja in front of you, who's also got heat in his hands, whose striking is actually, nothing to scoff at? When he's throwing leather at you, let's not forget, he was dropping Brandon Moreno. He was hurting Brandon Moreno. That's a good striker. I'm talking about Pantoja. This guy dropped Kaya Sukuda as well. So I just think it's going to be too much. The threat of the takedown, I think Joshua Van, even though his power has been looking better lately, he definitely is packing a bit more of a punch in his past couple of fights compared to the beginning of his career. And his takedown defense has always been good, and I'm sure it's going to get even better. Even though Joshua Van is a good fighter, Pantoja's just too good. He's too crafty. He's too strong. He's too dangerous. I think the physicality advantage is going to be big. I think he goes out there, topples over Joshua Van, and submits him in the first round. And I'm not saying first round because Van is bad. I'm just saying I think stylistically that's how this goes. First or second round submission for Pantoja, and he will have success on the feet. He will land early. He's going to charge forward, trusting in his toughness, trusting in his chin. And unless Pantoja has skipped the beat because of his age, I see him winning this, and I think it's going to be very dominant. And again, if he wins this, 2 title defenses at the age of 35 and above, that is incredible. That is unbelievable. And he is a top 10 fighter of all time. We're going to have to start talking about this guy maybe being in the top 5 as well. And you know what? I could already see some people commenting, so what? There's 30 fighters in the top 5? The fighters that are there may have to be booted out, is what I'm saying. So, I'm looking forward to this. If Joshua Van can make something happen, That'll be crazy. And again, he's very good. He's very dangerous. His boxing is unbelievable. He's probably got the best boxing in that division. Even though his power is improved, I just don't see him having that one-hitter quitter power against someone that's going to be putting the pace on him early, that's going to be level changing, that's going to be making him tentative. I think you really need, and again, can you rely on a KO, picking a big gnarly KO at flyweight, especially against a guy that's just going to be frustrating you with level changes, and he's throwing good shots upstairs that are making you respect his striking. Pantoja is just so difficult to deal with. And if a guy like Kai Kara-France, some people picked him by KO, I think he has more power than Joshua Van. If he has absolutely no success on the feet, I just don't think you can pick Van by KO. I think the way Van wins this is if somehow, some way he's able to keep this standing and he can pick apart Pantoja on the feet. But I just think that's not going to happen. I think even though his takedown defense is great, we've not seen it proven against someone like this. This is the best grappler we've ever seen in this division. So Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. In hindsight, it's pretty crazy that Jan Blachowicz was able to take Carlos Ulberg to a decision. I do think he lost that fight. Some people thought it was a robbery. Either way, it was close. Even though I think Jan Blachowicz is a little bit washed, because I honestly think he did look a little washed in that Ulberg fight, I'm going to pick him to beat Bogdan Guskov because Jan Blachowicz is just so difficult to put away. He's so difficult to knock out. And I think Bogdan is kind of reliant on that. And he's very impressive. He's a great prospect. I picked him to win damn near every single one of his fights. I think I picked him to win every single one of his fights, except for maybe the Volk and Ozdemir fight, which was his debut. And he's dangerous, and he's got a sneaky right hand. But Jan Blachowicz is still really tough. His distance management is good. I see Jan Blachowicz dragging this into a tit-for-tat striking battle. And, he still got that big, ugly style. He still has that ability to, win a little tit-for-tat points battle. Pop shots to the body, leg kicks. I think his hand speed is much slower these days. So I do see Bogdan being able to outbox him in moments. But yeah, I can't pick Bogdan by a finish. That's kind of the theme of every single fight that I've talked about so far. I think Bogdan, similarly to Petr Yan, to Joshua Van, I think he kind of needs a KO. And if he can't get the KO, I think Jan Blachowicz wins. I think he's going to be better at winning rounds. And you know what? We could see Jan Blachowicz shoot takedowns because remember, Bogdan Guskov was taken down and submitted against Volk and Ozdemir. Jan Blachowicz has the ability to pull out the takedowns and out-grapple you as well. So I actually think he'll do that in this fight. So that's even more of a reason to pick him. And then last but not least, Henry Cejudo versus Payton Talbott. This is a good fight. This is a really good fight. I actually think there's going to be a bit of trash talk. I think Cejudo's going to trash talk Talbott. Talbott's going to be trash talking Cejudo. I think this is going to be a fun build-up. I am going to pick Cejudo. You know what? For years, I kind of clowned Cejudo's style, and I made fun of the idea that Cejudo is this really slick karate blitz guy that fights like Prime McGregor, when in reality, he just right hand after right hand after right hand. He's just a gnarly right hand guy. But you know what? Cejudo, despite people saying he's old, and despite people saying he's past his prime, I actually think the last couple of fights, excluding the one he had against Merab, I think the performance against Aljo and I think the performance against Song Yadong, despite him losing those, I actually think he looked really good in those fights, especially against Song Yadong. I actually think even though he was getting outstruck, his boxing, his speed looked really, really good. And if there's something I can trust with Cejudo, it's always his chin. This guy has a granite chin. I know Talbott is dangerous, but Cejudo has a fire hydrant for a head. I don't think Talbott knocks him out. I could see Talbott maybe stinging him up on the feet a little bit. He's going to have a height and reach advantage. But you know what? It's just a different level of competition. If Barcelos is able to do what he did to you, and I understand, I get it, Talbott improved. He was able to look pretty good on the feet against Felipe Lima as well. And not only that, but he out-grappled Felipe Lima. We're talking 10 levels above that. I know Felipe Lima is a good prospect. Even if Talbott has improved since the Barcelos fight, Cejudo's better than Barcelos. And I've always said that Cejudo's grappling is overrated. Yeah, he's got this amazing wrestling pedigree, Olympic gold medalist. I understand that. But when it comes to MMA, he doesn't really dominate people on the ground. I think against this level of competition, Henry Cejudo's wrestling has a higher potential to be somewhat dominant. I think he has a higher potential to be able to take down Talbott and control him. And again, the wealth of experience that he has, the massive step up in competition. I know Cejudo's old, but he looked so fast in his last fight. He looked very fast. He looked great in his last fight. And I just think Song Yadong is a much higher level than Payton Talbott at the moment. I think Talbott has potential. I think he's a good fighter. I think he has the ability to make this competitive, but I just see Cejudo being a little bit too much, a little bit too crafty. This is the year of the Unks, guys. So we're going with the crafty vets. We're going with Pantoja. We're going with Blachowicz, and we're going with Cejudo. I'm picking Cejudo. I'm trying to think, is this the first time I'm picking him to win a fight since the Dominic Cruz fight? Yeah, I picked Aljo to beat him, I picked Merab to beat him, and I picked Song to beat him. This is the first fight since the Dominic Cruz fight where I actually think Cejudo is going to win. So I'm looking forward to this. Great fight. I think it's going to be similar to the Barcelos one, though. And then Blachowicz versus Guskov. I think Blachowicz is still tough enough to take a punch from Bogdan Guskov, and I think he's going to win a decision. Petr Yan, so skillful, but Merab's just, his physicality, the cardio, it's just going to be too much again. And then I do see Pantoja dominating Joshua Van. I do see him taking down Van, subbing him in one. So I'm looking forward to these. And then, a couple other fights on this card for SCM, Sadikov. That should be a scrap. I'm looking forward to that. Duncan versus McKinney. McKinney's been on a roll. He's been improving, but again, he's kind of a glass cannon, and Duncan is just so powerful. And he's on a roll too. Coming off of a win against Mateusz Raumbetsky, I don't see McKinney surviving the first couple of minutes with Duncan. I think he gets sent to the Shadow Realm. So either way, that'll be an interesting fight. And then Moreno versus Taira. I think Moreno wins, guys. I think Moreno wins. I know Taira looked really good in his last fight, but against Hung Sung Park. Hung Sung Park, good fighter. Don't get me wrong, he's well-rounded, but we're talking Brandon Moreno here. I think Brandon Moreno is the second best striker in this division. And his grappling is no joke. Think about all the Figueiredo fights, the grappling exchanges. I mean, this wasn't a guy that got submitted against Pantoja in the last fight that they had. I mean, yeah, he got controlled here and there, but not submitted. I think that Brandon Moreno is going to outdog Tatsuro Taira, out-scramble him in moments, and I think he's going to win a decision. So I'm going with Brandon Moreno. I just don't think Tatsuro Taira has the danger factor on the feet to get respect from Moreno. I think these days to beat Moreno, you have to have some power. You have to have some real threat on the feet. If you don't have that, and if you're not super slick on the feet like Roy Val, where you could just play the distance game the whole time, I think that Moreno's going to just bulldoze you. And so I think he's going to give him no respect and damage him up. I'm going with Brandon Moreno. I'm looking forward to this, though. This should be interesting. Maybe Tatsuro Taira could take him down and keep him there. Maybe he could do that rinse and repeat for 3 rounds. We'll see. But this is a really good card. This is a hardcore fans card. It's a classic December card. The December cards are always the hardcore fans cards, right? I mean, sure, you don't have the mega fights in December, but Dvalishvili, Yan, Pantoja, Van, Blachowicz, Cejudo, Moreno, good prelims as well. I'm looking forward to UFC 312. Should be an amazing card. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Until next time.